That is the single biggest problem with this bike. Afternoon everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's John, thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't seen my last video, I explained over there that I've recently purchased the CF Moto 800MTX, affectionately known as the Big Doll. It's an Irish term of endearment, believe it or not. So I thought I would do a video on the CF Moto 800MTX, and it's not going to be a first ride review or first impressions. I've done nearly 2,500 miles on this bike. I've done motorways, I've done day-to-day commuting, I've done country roads, I've done long days in the saddle, I've done a full tour to Spain and back where I rode from Ireland, Wales, England, ferry across to Spain and toured the Picos de Europa mountains. So I've lived with the bike, I've packed the bike, I've ridden it in long days, I know the story. So whilst it is an in-depth review based on my experience of the 2,500 miles, I'm not going to turn on a camera and read out spec sheets and give you facts and figures and seat height and all of this kind of information. If you really want that, it's all online, you can get it within 30 seconds. I'm just going to give you my own experience. So I think the best way to do this is I'll just address the good. That's the easy stuff, isn't it? So cherry picking the easy stuff. Value for money / price. So where I am in the north of Ireland, this bike cost me £7,200 on the road. And for a middleweight adventure bike, I think that's very hard to beat. When I do get off the bike and show you around it, you will see some things are maybe slightly different than standard. I have added a few bits and pieces, but for the £7,200, the standard stuff you get, it's phenomenal. The bike's loaded with tech. It comes standard with a quick shifter, auto blitter, cruise control. In addition to that, you get a phenomenal 4-year manufacturer's warranty. It really put my mind at ease. Another big selling point for me was it looks good. Like I genuinely think the bike looks great. When you compare it against the other sort of heavyweights, Africa Twin, KTMs, I mean, I think it holds its own in terms of aesthetics. I really do, and there's no bias. I suppose leaning into the aesthetics, it's really a KTM in different clothes. It's very similar to a KTM. Next up on the good points, I suppose, is the engine. I'm not going to pretend to be some motorcycle guru and have fountains of knowledge about engines, because I don't. I think it's been well publicised with the CF Moto and addressing the issues with the KTM engine, and they've done that. This engine's great. It's an 800, yes. Africa Twins, the 1000cc and the 1100, obviously they're far more power, but for the kind of riding I'm doing, 800 is more than enough. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll pull in up here and I'll talk a bit more about the bike, what I've done to it, and show you just a bit more about the bike in detail. What a faff that was. Yikes. Ugh. Look, I'm going to be honest, I'm just like everybody else. The first thing that drew this bike to me was the price, or I should say the value for money. It's so hard to ignore how cheap this bike is. Where I live in the north of Ireland, this bike on the road was £7,200, and it comes fully loaded with tech. After that, it's hard to ignore the styling. I love the look of it. I think it looks great. I really do. There's no bias. I tried the alternatives. I looked at the Cove Rally, and I looked at the Vosges Rally, and I looked at the Vosges DS900X, I think, the Dark Knight or the Black Knight. And I looked at all the usual suspects as well, the Africa Twin, the GS, the KTMs. But for me, the value for money, that just trumped everything for me. And then when I sat on the bike, this is the taller model as well, so this is the 870, I think. But when I sat on it, it was really comfortable. The bike felt sturdy, felt strong, it was robust. It was an adventure bike, which was a big selling point for me as well. Yeah, so the bike felt really strong. It felt robust. and it felt like it was ready to do some serious miles and some off-roading, which is exactly what I wanted the adventure bike for. I suppose in similar way to that, you can't really ignore the value for money. There's always that question in the back of my mind about this is a Chinese bike and it's new on the market, or relatively new on the market, it's a new offering, and what was I getting into? I suppose, you know, there's no avoiding it. That is the single biggest problem with this bike, and that is the badge. There's no getting away from it. I didn't know, was I taking a risk? You know, what was the resale value going to be? You always hear the day you buy is the day you sell. But in the end I thought, I'm not going to judge the bike based on comments on the internet. I'm going to judge it based on riding it. And I'm so glad I did, because I love the bike. So the first thing that surprised me about the bike is, for such a big bike and a heavy bike, how it's built, the bike feels planted but not lazy. It feels flickable in corners, there's enough power there. It's genuinely a joy to ride. It's no problem on the motorways, overtaking's a breeze. There's loads of low-end torque as well. Now, no motorcycle is perfect, and neither is this one, and there are a few things I would change. They're relatively minor, but I may as well mention them. This screen has got a lot of hate on the internet, and I'm starting to see why. There is a bit of wind buffeting. Now, I'm not particularly tall, but based on the riding height, there is a lot of wind hitting me straight on the front of my lid. So I have seen people change these out for a taller screen. I haven't as yet. Again, not a massive gripe, but it's just something to point out. Moving on to the seat. So this is the lowered seat. It's actually a lowered heated seat. I found with the standard seat height that I had, I just wasn't comfortable enough, or I wasn't confident enough at slow maneuvers and just moving the bike around the garage and just moving around car parks and stuff. So I always wanted the heated seat anyway, because I pictured myself doing a lot of riding in the winter and a lot of touring. So that was the seat that was available at the time. So that's the lowered heated seat, and that has really helped. And I just have a lot more confidence with this, as I say, like slow maneuvers and just maneuvering the bike around the garage or the garden or the driveway. Moving on to the exhaust. Bike doesn't sound great. There's no getting away from it. I am going to probably put an end can on. I have ordered a Decat link pipe, and I'm going to hopefully put that on this weekend. So there'll be a video about that, and it'll show stock versus, it'll show the difference in the sound and the exhaust. Moving on to the cockpit. Everything's generally okay. Large screen, the screen is clear, everything's legible and visible. I have added the AOC unit just for CarPlay. Annoyingly, the standard CF Moto Ride app, I think that's what it's called, you can connect your phone to it and it does display maps, etc. But once you lock your screen of your phone, it disconnects. Your phone has to stay unlocked with the screen on at all times for it to work. So I just went ahead and got the AOC unit anyway. Backlit switch gear, which is really, really handy. I do like that. The indicator signals, whatever you want to call it, I think it's in a weird position, just because of the depth of the switch gear and then where it's positioned. Sometimes it's a tiny bit fidgety to try and switch between left and right and turn them off, but other than that, it's not a big deal. The thing that baffles me the most is all of this technology, and they didn't include a temperature sensor, an ambient temperature sensor. I can't believe that they didn't include it. It's the only thing that they haven't included. They've included everything else. What else have I done? I have an aftermarket tail tidy on. The other one, I'll put up a photograph of the standard one, just thought it looked a bit naff. Added the lower end crash bars. I have done a bit of off-roading and plan to do a lot more, and just having this low down fuel tank scares me. I just picture myself dropping it and piercing that tank, so I put the lower crash bars on as well. Everything else is generally okay. Lights are good, mirrors are good. You've got USB-C and USB-A at the front in the cockpit. Also took off pillion foot pegs as well. Another gripe I do have is, annoyingly, they haven't included a centre stand as standard. There's a big bike. It's a bit of a beast to lug around the garage, so just even for oiling your chain and stuff, it would be nice. So you can get aftermarket ones. I'm not sure how much they are, but it's maybe something for down the line. Okay, I think that's enough talking rubbish. I'm going to get back on the bike and do a bit more riding. So if you are thinking of getting one of these, I totally understand that you might be a bit apprehensive or even a bit nervous about spending all that money on something that's relatively untested or there's not a lot of public knowledge around, because I was exactly the same 8 weeks ago. You know, I did the research and I looked at similar videos and, you know, I done the test rides and everything, but at the end of the day, it is a relatively unknown motorcycle or / manufacturer. So I get it if people are nervous about buying this. £7,000 is still an awful lot of money for something that feels like a bit of a risk. I suppose the only way I could sum it up is, if you were going to spend £17,000 or £18,000, whatever it is, on an Africa Twin, or even more than that for a GS, you could have two bikes for the price of one. You could have a CF Moto adventure bike, and you could have a sports bike or a touring bike for the same price effectively as an Africa Twin, which is bonkers. It just seems ludicrous to me. Maybe CF Moto will level out the playing field a bit in terms of cost. And I keep saying that they're relatively new or relatively unknown. They're not even. They're winning sports bike races and superbike races all over the place. So it's not as if they're just new kids on the block. They're not even. I genuinely have been really, really chuffed to bits with the bike since I bought it. I bought the bike in the end of May, and I booked a tour in Spain shortly after that, and I had 4 weeks to get the bike run in, get it serviced, and even to try and gel with the bike ahead of taking it abroad. And I really think I've done that. And at the time of recording this video, they've just recently released the 1000MTX. I'm not sure on the specs on that one either, but naturally it's got a bit more power than this one, so it'll be interesting to see how well those sales do as well. And like, for a big bike, it's as straight as a die. It really is planted. I would kid, but it sounds like a dishwasher. He wants me to rev my bike. There's no point. It sounds like an egg whisk. To be honest, folks, I'm running out of bad things to say about the bike. There aren't enough bad things to say about the bike, and that's the truth. For those that are watching, perhaps you're thinking about buying an 800MTX, or maybe you already own one and perhaps disagree with some of the things that I'm saying. Either way, I'd be keen to hear from those. Drop me a comment and I'll get back to you. Similarly, if there's something that I haven't covered in the video and you'd like an honest opinion, feel free to drop me a comment about that as well, and I'll happily get back to you and tell you whatever you want to know. Folks, if you managed to make it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, hit the like button and the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Take it easy.